Hello and welcome to another Doctor System 1 video, and today I'm doing a review of a Big Finish audiobook, or a Big Finish audio CD thing, but before I fully get into it, just put this aside, if you were wondering, who do I suggest you watch, if you're really into the sort of audio, Big Finish audio sort of stuff, or you want to get other people's opinions before buying them and stuff like that, because that's basically what the whole point of a review is, then basically I think, personally, you should go check out one of my friends called Nerd Central. He's really into his Big Finish audios. He has quite a few. He hasn't reviewed a lot of them, but he has quite a few, from what I can remember of what I saw of his a while back. And then also Pertwee Smith 11, those two are really good at reviewing the Big Finish audios. Now, I'm really nervous about doing this review because I haven't reviewed... This and ID, which is a Colin Baker story, episode sort of story that I've... that I haven't listened to yet. Also, if I do say that this is different to the TV, I mean just in media terms. I know that Big Finish is canon now, so don't keyboard warrior me and be all like, "Oh, Big Finish is canon." Anyway, so I'll go through the packaging first. Also, as I just said, Nerd Central and Pertwee Smith 11. I think those two are really good reviewers of these, because the last audio that I reviewed, Big Finish audios that I reviewed, were Dark Eyes many moons ago now, but technically they were Nerd Central, so they weren't mine. Starring Paul McGann, Doctor Who logo there, Paul McGann, in this very solemn look, and kind of like a shady, shadowy effect. Big Finish there, in very small print. A rocket, like silo thing, and then the surface of this place. With India Fisher as Charlie, and can't even really read his name, as Keras. And then it says a full cast audio drama on a double CD there, in blue on a white background. On the spine it says Doctor Who The Last. Yeah, that's what the episode's called. Now, I don't know if this is just a Big Finish thing, or with quite a few of the classic sort of TV episodes, they did that quite a bit sometimes, every now and then, that they'd have an episode called, I don't know, The Seeds of Doom, and it'd have some sort of actual sort of meaning in the actual episode, and this one definitely does. The Last actually means something within the episode. The Last, which is in orange, whereas there it's in white. 62, which is the number of which one it is. Big Finish. And then the blurb, which you can pause if you want to read it. No, it's very small print. The Last. Legal guff, and then on the inside, you got the disc, which is just a silver, part 1 and 2 there, you've got that, and then part 3 and 4 there, so it is a 4-part story. Then you've got the rest of the sort of Paul McGann, I think it's the monthly range, or maybe his own range, I'm not 100% sure. The running time is 130 minutes, I think. Where does it say that? Yeah, 130 minutes, it says it there in very small print. Okay, I'll go through the negatives, because I have a few little minor negatives, which are that the side characters and the characters aside from the companions, I thought were not very developed. I thought the War Minister and the Peace Minister were very bland, kind of boring, very two-dimensional, one-dimensional characters, even, and by the end they got killed off anyway. I don't want to ruin too much of the story, but yeah, they get killed off, and I didn't feel very sad about that, but I did with when the companions die at the end of this, or stuff happened to them. It is very emotional. Now, the one and that was really good. But the other thing that I found, comparing it to, say, Dark Eyes, I think this is a lot older than Dark Eyes. So for me, at least, listening to this and comparing it to Dark Eyes, the first one at least, this one felt a lot less crisp, a lot less refined, basically. It felt a lot more jaded and jagged to listen to. Like, everything felt like it wasn't fully there. Like, the title sequence was the same as the one in Dark Eyes 1, but it just didn't have that oomph, it didn't have that gravitas, it didn't have that refined quality to it, whereas the one in Dark Eyes did, and so that's my only gripe. Although the story is really good, I feel like all the audio quality is a bit lower in quality than, say, Dark Eyes 1. That being said, though, the way it is used is immaculate. It's used very well. You got this eerie atmosphere, this gritty storytelling. It is a very dark, atmospheric sort of, story. And it doesn't shun away from, this sort of political and ethical sort of moral sort of dilemmas. For example, Charlie is paralyzed in this episode, and so Krez is contemplating, or she says that, if we can't get all the full treatment, could you kill me? I don't want to live like that, and that is a moral and ethical sort of conundrum, and I think Doctor Who's at its peak when it does these things, because writers can use the Doctor, the character of the Doctor, as a platform for them to shun their ideas into it, because some writers might think, you know what, it is actually right to kill someone who is fully paralysed, but they can, talk, and they have their brain still functioning, and they can talk, but everything else is paralysed, and they say to you, I want to die, then, someone who's writing this episode might think that's actually alright, so then they can use the Doctor as a way to verbalise their sort of opinions and their thoughts on ethical and sort of political sort of conundrums and whatnot. And I think media's always at its best when it does that, and I think the televised sort of mainstream media version of Doctor Who, the newer series, shuns away from that. I mean, we get episodes every now and then which are, kind of touch upon political and ethical and moral sort of dilemmas, like A Town Called Mercy and Kill the Moon, and that's why I like them so much. But I feel like the Big Finish audios, in audio format, you can get away with it, and I think the main reason why you can get away with it is because it's mainly aimed at the hardcore audience of Doctor Who. You're not going to get, like, at 6 years old, I wouldn't really have ever thought about getting these, and I'm 17, and I think this is amazing. You've got this, like, sort of nuclear war and stuff like that, and that's, very, very grim, dark, gritty, atmospheric, storytelling. The narrative in this story is just amazing, and there's, like, they touch upon the philosophical debate about, is there an afterlife and stuff like that, very religious sort of belief, whether or not there's an afterlife. Religious people do believe in that, but obviously the Doctor being the Doctor, sort of like being a scientist, he takes a very logical stance to it. He probably doesn't believe in an afterlife. He'd like to think that there might be, but I don't think he'd ever admit that there is, unless there was actual hard evidence. It's ironic because I did think that I wasn't really going to like this episode, and it was only $4.99. My only gripe with the on the packaging wise was there was like a sticker, and I tried peeling it off, and now I've got all this gunk on there over Paul McGann's forehead, which is really irritating. But yeah, as I say, it touches upon, the companion being paralysed, the sort of idea of, is there an afterlife, and a bit about what the meaning of life is, but more about the afterlife sort of thing, and about the sort of, the unethical horror of, nuclear warfare and whatnot. So, And there's this horrible woman called Excelsior, who's like this maniacal, evil wench of a woman, of a leader who literally consistently kills, and the Doctor even says this awesome, like, really chilling, dark, gritty sort of quote, or, well, not so much quote, but line where he says, Excelsior, I've never hated anyone as much as you. I honestly hate you with every fibre in my body. Sort of thing. And then, like, I think Cress, I think that's his name, Chris or Cress or something like that. He lives later, and Charlie has died, and he says something along the lines of, is the meaning of life just to lose people? And then the Doctor says, no, it's about, being with family, friends, and holding on to them, and knowing that, they're not always there, should hopefully maybe make everyone appreciate the people who are there more, and it made me a bit sad because it reminded me about my nan and that, but, this is the rich sort of storytelling the audio format can provide you with, whereas I feel like these days, at least, the sort of, mainstream sort of Doctor Who media format can't. And when I mean the mainstream one, I know that this is canon, I know Big Finish is canon, I'm not saying that, I'm just literally saying this is different because of the fact that it's audio media, and the mainstream the mainstream show is TV format. So that's literally all I'm saying. So don't be all like, oh, you're not saying that Big Finish is canon and all that junk. But yeah, I picked this one up because I like the Eighth Doctor in the TV movie, and I like him in the in Night at the can't even say it. Night of the Doctor and the TV movie. So yeah, what would I give this out of 10? I would give this a well-earned 8 out of 10. I really want to give it a 9 out of 10, but because of the fact that it's not as refined as, say, Dark Eyes, or it's not, the side characters aren't that interesting, and I don't know, aside from those two gripes, the side characters aren't that interesting, and it's really not as refined as some of the later audiobooks. Obviously, it's not going to be as refined, but I think those two push it down to a solid 8, but it could have been a bit better. It could have been a 9 just because of those two things being better. But yeah, thanks for watching, comment, rate, and subscribe.